All right. Hi. Again, welcome everybody. My name's Heidi Fortune Picker. I'm the Director of Engagement here at First Stage. And I'm really excited to talk with these extraordinary artists who will be joining us this season for the Nance. I also see some other, Nick Alcott, who is the director of the Nance, is also on this call. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about who we're talking to. I'm going to start with a couple of questions that they're going to answer, and then we'll open it up to questions from you. And then we will end at 3 o'clock. So we'll be mindful of everybody's time today. So first I would like, and maybe you can raise your hand and wave a little bit, friends, when I introduce you. So I'd like to introduce Patrick Joy. There's Patrick. So Patrick was here last season in Columbinus and was actually nominated for a Helen Hayes Award, and we're very proud. He was last seen at Avant Bard in a misanthrope, and he does a lot of government training videos to keep his skills sharp, he said. And he will be here to play Ned in the Nance. Sally Imbriano.
Hello.
Sally is I've not actually met Sally in person before. She's new to us at First Stage, and I can't wait to meet you in real life. She's going to be Carmen in the Nance. She is a performer and teacher in the DMV area, but she has worked all over the world. And so we're very grateful to have her back here in the area. She was recently in Creative Cauldron's Disenchanted and Next Stop's Matilda. And she'll be in Into the Woods when everything gets back rolling at Creative Cauldron, and then also in the Disney Virtual Cabaret at Lati Joe this summer. And then we also have Michael Russoto. Where's Michael? There you are. And Michael is also a new friend for me. So nice to meet you, Michael, and I can't wait to meet you in real life. We're so happy to have you. He's a professional actor, worked at all the theaters here in DC, been nominated for multiple Helen Hayes Awards, and we are thrilled to have you to play Chauncey in the Nance. So these are our friends. So we're going to open it up to some questions. So the first question I have for everyone today is pretty general. How are you? What is keeping you sane right now while we're all still at home? And Ned, or Ned, I'm sorry. I'm getting my names mixed up. Michael, you want to start us off?
Sure. Well, I'm doing fine. You know, I really can't complain. I've been doing a lot of teaching online, which has kept me, given me something to do and to, you know, make ends meet. I've also been doing a lot of video auditions for First Stage, but I've had some other video auditions too, which has given me a lot of projects to work on. I think that people are pretty hopeful that eventually, hopefully soon, we'll be able to get theaters back up on their feet and running again. So a lot of theaters are looking to the future and holding auditions in anticipation of being able to do that. So I've been pretty busy in that regard.
That's
so
great.
Yeah, so good.
Awesome. Sally, what have you been up to?
Like Michael, I've been able to move my students online, so that's been really good to keep my schedule sort of consistent. But the biggest addition would be I adopted a dog, so I've been walking her morning, midday, and all of that stuff, and I've had a companion in isolation, so that's been great.
That's great. And Patrick?
Yeah, I've been doing surprisingly well. I'm an introvert at heart. I think a lot of actors are surprisingly introverts at hearts. So, you know, I've been missing people a little bit, but it's been kind of nice to get to fully dig into my shell. I'm also fortunate in the sense that I have a full-time day job that's been moved online. So I'm still working 40 hours a week just from my apartment. So at least I've been keeping mentally busy in that sense. And like Michael said, you know, I've been auditioning for things that I might not ordinarily be able to audition for because of time constraints. When you send in self-tapes, you can work around your own schedule and you get more time to sort of mull over how you want to do this. You get to get a little more involved in it, create a costume, that sort of thing.
Good, thank you. So can Michael, how about you talk us through what a normal pre-pandemic audition process would be like for a DC actor?
You know, it sort of depends on a little bit on who you're auditioning for and how well they know you sometimes. But I'd say that it would start normally, especially if you're sort of going in with no previous connections or experience with a particular theater organization. And I'm talking pretty much for theater, not necessarily film and television. But in general, they would probably ask you to do a monologue of some sort to come in to just get to know you a little bit. And if you make it past that cut, then you would go to the next stage, which is cold readings from the script. In other words, they give you a little piece of the script called a side. We call it a side. And you are asked to read that with either a reader or another actor, perhaps, who is also called back for the particular play that they are going to produce. And then if that goes well and you get cast, then, you know, in this town, we tend to cast pretty far in the future. So an actor who lives and works here might know what they're doing for a year or more in the future. That's not the case in other cities like New York, where you might not get a call till a week or so before you start rehearsals. And that's often the way film and television works too, is it's very quick. There's you might get a call for an audition for the next day. So you have to kind of understand that and be prepared to jump when they give you the call.
Thank you. I want to bring another one of our artists into this conversation, Miss Dee Starnes, who is on our staff and an extraordinary artist, actor, and director. And she, can you tell us a little bit, Dee, about what it's like for you right now as both an administrator in a theater and as an artist in her own right?
I am actually, I've been fortunate in that all my auditioning happened early on. What I needed to put on video, it happened early on. It happened a few weeks ago, and I haven't had to deal with that side of me, the artist side of me. And for the first stage side of me, we've just really been working hard to make sure that our virtual auditions were done in a way that everybody felt comfortable, that they were getting what they need and seeing what they need, and actors were comfortable enough doing it that way. We've sort of kind of reached a plateau for now, as we all wait as things change every day. We're excited about our Nance cast. I think that was probably a big challenge for us because it was new. And now I feel like an old pro, and I'm ready to take on the next set of auditions. But as Michael said, a lot of times in DC, sometimes you're just asked. But if you're not asked, the theaters here in DC are really good about getting in touch with you, giving your sides in a timely fashion. But everybody's doing auditions online now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Sally, and can you tell us a little bit about what this audition process for the Nance was like? Was this a new experience for you with a virtual audition process?
That's correct. I've had a few auditions where they've asked for me to pre-record something, but the Nance was my first Zoom audition. And I, as a teacher, could foresee some hiccups, you know, when I'm singing, for instance, sometimes the sound cuts out. So there were things where I, you know, wanted to record it just in case and then send that as well, but essentially be prepared to do anything you asked of me. And it was exceptionally fun to know that, yes, I can do a dance over Zoom, and I can sing over Zoom, and I can act. I acted against Nick over Zoom, and it was just, it opened up some doors.
And what is that? Does that change the way you work? I mean, in the way you work on your process of auditioning or process of building a character?
I think the pre-recorded auditions definitely has, because there were things that I was not aware of until I saw myself doing it on multiple takes. And then there were also things where I was more adventurous because I knew I could always take another take. So I think as an actor, I've actually grown to become more experimental simply because, you know, it isn't your only 5 minutes with the director. You know, you've got a few more takes that you can do. So in some ways, it's been revitalizing, and I've really enjoyed the process, surprisingly.
Patrick, you've talked about doing some virtual auditions. Can you tell us a little bit about what the callback process was for the Nance?
Sure.
What was that like? How was it different?
Yeah, so like Michael said, it followed the traditional audition trajectory, where instead of the initial monologue audition that he mentioned, instead of that, it was take something and send it on in. And then when you get through that round and you go to the callback, normally you read that with somebody in person, so that they've seen you do a monologue, but now they want to see how you work with another actor, if you can do a scene. And so Zoom kind of came along at the right time for that, because it is almost, unlike Skype, it's almost instantaneous, the communication, and the facial reactions. And myself as an actor, I work very heavily in paying attention to the other actor, as opposed to like the Stanislavski or method acting where you're very internal. It's much more Meisner, where you're paying attention to what the other person is doing. And I was scared that Zoom would struggle with that sort of thing, but it was actually very nice that I could pick up on micro emotions and somebody being a little offended by what you say, or being intrigued by what you're saying, and you can play off of that. It was also, I was nervous, but reminded of the fact that we're all kind of in this strange new world. We're all dealing with Zoom and trying to figure out how it works. And there was, here in first stage, everybody who was on the call was very gracious in that this is brand new for us. Things are gonna feel weird, and we're here with you on that.
Thank you. Throwing this out to the whole group, are there other surprising things that you've found in your process or work as an actor doing this kind of work over Zoom?
For me, I didn't realize that I would get just as nervous over Zoom as I would in person, and that's one of the big surprises.
There's also things to consider that you have to consider your frame, like, and how much of your body can be seen, and what is needed in a particular scene. Like, do they need to see your whole body, or can they just see you from the shoulders up? Or so things like that you really don't have to consider when you walk into an audition.
Another interesting consideration is how close the audience is. When we do stage acting, we think about trying to give the same show to the people in the back row as we do the people in the front row. And in that sense, a lot of what we do is designed in a way that everybody will get more or less the same show. But when you're auditioning over Zoom, the people watching you are, in essence, 3 feet away, because that's where your camera is. And you just kind of have to keep that in mind. It's an interesting challenge. You're auditioning for theater, but you're auditioning on a camera.
Yeah, that's really interesting. When you think about what happens post-pandemic, like when we're all able to gather again, and that beautiful, beautiful day that will happen one day, like, and going back into the theater, what lessons do you think you'll be taking with you, and what kind of changes do you think you would like to see in the theater as actors as you move forward?
That's an exciting question. I think that we'll sort of dig into those two things that makes theater different than movies. The realness, the liveness, the presence of it, the fact that there are actors up there doing it right now, and they're here in the room, and this is a one-time experience. I love that about theater, and I hope we'll continue to dig into that. And the artistry of theater, the stylism of theater. Film is, mostly realism based, whereas theater sets are expressionist. Can tend to be expressionistic. You have one set for a whole story, and this set has to evoke an emotion, and the lighting has to evoke an emotion. And I really hope we'll continue to dig into that and further separate theater from blockbusters.
Anybody else?
I think one of the takeaways for me is just how efficient, Zoom auditioning and video auditioning can be. Because, I think Patrick mentioned it before, where there are some auditions that you just can't get to based on your schedule. And that limits the theater, and it also limits you as an actor. Whereas if theaters continued to maybe do the first round online, it could open up a lot of avenues. I completely agree with Patrick in terms of the realness of theater and how organic it is. I really enjoy playing off of other people too. So I can see the callback still being, with the other people called back. But it does make things a little bit more efficient if the first round could be online. I think theater is so special, and it's lived for so long because of how present everything is and how the audience can interact. It's not just being reticent, it's being active and reactive, which is really lovely.
Yeah, hopefully it's the best of both worlds after this, where I think theaters won't be as afraid of the technology when they're holding auditions, in the future, because they've gone through this. And I also think that I hope that people realize there's no substitute for being in the room with the performers, and for the performers being in the room with the audience. There's just an electricity that happens that you don't get in any other format.
Dee, you want to add something?
Just wanted to say that I totally agree with Michael. What I've missed the most is being in the room where it happens, with the designers, with the artists, with the director. And one of the things I hope, especially for me, is not to take for granted this gift that we were given to tell stories. It's I think it goes beyond having a talent. I think it's a gift to be able to do that and to do something that you really enjoy. So when we get back, because we will get back, I'm confident we will get back. The one thing I want to be mindful of is not taking it for granted, that this is just, it's life, and it's survival, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. So this is a conversation, and we have a lot of really very wonderful people on this call. So we're going to open it up to some questions, and I'm going to turn this over to Dee, because she is fielding the questions.
All right, so we have a question from one of our biggest supporters. His name is August Levy, and he always has the most incredible questions to ask, and I think he's like 5. So I am going to open up his mic so Augie can ask his really, really intelligent question. It's amazing. Let me see if I can find. I have to scroll down here and unmute him. And there he is. All right, Augie. You should be unmuted now. No, not yet. All right. Oh, there it is.
So, I was just wondering, how are you just feeling about their upcoming play at First Stage? What are they like feeling like they're most excited about? Most happy about it, about the upcoming play at First Stage?
Thank you, Augie. Anybody want to take that?
I'm excited to work on that particular story. I like that it's a story that tells the the history of a certain class of gay people that's not been really explored a lot. And I think it's a really amazing script because it combines like all of the best things. It's very funny, but there's a lot of drama in it as well, and there's singing and dancing. So what could be better?
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I've been stopping myself from just immediately diving in and starting my research, because it is, after all, a whole year away, and anything I research today, I'm going to forget by then. I'm really looking forward to, as Michael said, the story. I don't know of any other plays that explores that specific era with this specific storyline, but I'm also excited about the way it's written. The scenes flow so well one into the other. There's talking about how someone begins a performance, a burlesque performance, and it seamlessly shifts into a scene backstage. And I'm so looking forward to seeing how the designers and director are going to figure that out.
I personally am excited for the idea of the play within the play, simply because the actor can be somebody on stage and then bring some of that character off stage, but then of course they are a different person altogether. So Carmen especially, I feel she's a very sophisticated person off stage, and then on stage a little bit seductive and a little bit saucy. And I just love that me as an actor can do both things without having to play like two different tracks.
So there's another friend on this call, Bobby. Two friends, Bobby and Nick was here too. So I was curious if anybody else wanted to talk a little bit about the Nance, since we're diving into that really amazing show we're going to do. Dee is working magic, I think, right now.
Nick, you're unmuted.
Me. She's just unmuted me.
Yeah.
You want my video too?
Oh, of course we want your
There
video.
you are.
Yeah. No, it's wonderful to hear these actors talk. I'm so excited about working with them. It was a whole new experience for me to audition online. I found the easiest part of it was the realistic scenes, that people really were able to get in each other's faces and play off of each other. And I was very surprised with how well those scenes worked. The harder part for me was extrapolating. This is, I don't know, people who don't know what the play is about. It takes place in a burlesque house in the 1930s. And burlesque at that time was not only striptease, but also comedy sketches in the broadest vaudevillian style. And it's very hard on camera to picture vaudeville performances. So and I think it's hard for the actors to generate vaudeville performances in their living rooms, bathrooms, and dining rooms, where they all were. So I think it was tough for them. And that was the hardest part, to extrapolate from what I was seeing on camera to thinking, how are they really going to be on stage in this big, broad style? The close dramatic scenes, particularly between Michael and Patrick, were just stunning. I mean, it was like watching a really good movie, because they were so in touch with each other while they were bouncing off of each other. And I apologize for those of you who had to act opposite me. I know that's not really fair, but that's it. The more interesting people on this call.
Let me see if I can get Bobby unmuted. He has to help me, I think, on his end.
So Nick Alcott is the director. Oh, there, and Bobby
there he
plays
is.
the music
Oh,
director.
there
Can
he
you
is.
hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I have a mask on. So I think the nice thing for me was I didn't have to play the audition over and over again, and it really gave me a chance to see what the actors were doing, which is a luxury for me, because a lot of the times I'm stuck behind a piano, you know, and so unless I have everything memorized, I can't necessarily focus on both things as well as I would like to. So it was nice having the opportunity, and it also gave all the actors a sort of like an even playing field because they all had the same accompaniment to work from. It wasn't like, you know, I played it differently every time.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another question from Kathy, but before we take that question, August Levy, I am so sorry. I have a whole chat room full of messages letting me know that I said you were 5 and you are actually 6. And I want you to know that the only reason I said that is because since I've known you since you were a baby and I am deeply in love with you, I don't want you to grow up. So if you can forgive me, I hope you will. And now I'm going to take Kathy's mic off so she can ask her question. She has a really good question as well. Where'd she go? There she is. Okay, Kathy, you're live.
Okay. I wondered, can the actors take a Zoom interview that they do for one theater and use it at another theater, or is that a no-no?
Good question. Probably not if it's for a specific audition for a specific play. However, during the pandemic, I've had a bunch of opportunities to do a general audition for a bunch of different film and television producers, and I have used the same monologues. I've sent them the same tape, just because they left it up to me what to do, and I have a couple of couple of monologues that I like and feel I do well. So those are the ones that I sent repeatedly to different houses. If they asked me to do a callback sort of situation, no, I would find something new to do.
Thanks.
Okay, that is all I have right now. Alex, do you want to ask any questions of this incoming cast?
Sure. Hey, yeah, I told Dee that if there's a break, I had a question. So I can ask him on my own, but it's better to do it in front of people. First of all, guys, we're so excited to have you, and it means so much to be looking to the future. So thank you. Sorry, my neighbor is building something next door, if that's bleeding over. I'm always interested in the rooms that I'm not in, right? That you guys didn't get to be in this time either, which is to say, usually actors are working in hallways. They have a chance to get to know each other even briefly before they go in. I wonder about what those moments are where you make an instant connection before you start, working together. And if it felt different to not have that moment this time, what it's like to sort of meet people in front of us and dive in and not have an actual sort of human-to-human connection that you two can have on your own without us happening. Even sometimes it happens in the room without us when we're there, but you guys have a moment together before you start. Does it feel different to be sort of just catapulted in?
I think watching Michael and Patrick right now has been very enlightening. I think, that casting is spot on. And it's simply, you're just being yourselves, but it's just so funny, being able to see that in terms of having that be part of your preparation. It most definitely is part of your preparation. I remember going to a few callbacks and just asking the other actor who they've asked you to read with, how do you want to do this? And it's more active and playful. Whereas this is what can I bring? And hopefully that gets translated over Zoom. So it is exceptionally different.
That's a really good question. I looked so shell-shocked because I was sitting here going, how did I not realize that? Oh my God, yeah, we didn't get that. It's wildly different, and requires a bit of faith in the other actor. We haven't really said a word aside from, oh, hello, should we do the scene? And I was just really lucky that Michael and I clicked really well. Forgive me, I'm gonna compliment you now. From the very first thing you said, I went, oh, this is an interesting interpretation of this scene, and I kind of love it. You did something with the scene that we were doing that I would not have guessed to do in a million years, and it threw me off balance, and that's where I played the scene, as in you have control over my character, and I'm now trying to catch up to you. So in our instance, it actually worked to our benefit because I trusted, I let you take us in that direction, which required a little bit of faith on my part, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that, you can do all the prep work that you want in our business, but really you have to be, I think what Patrick is talking about, you also have to be willing and trusting enough to throw it out the window and take what you're given, sort of like, and it's a two-way street, I mean, I was taking things from Patrick as well that, I obviously read his lines in my head, but I didn't know how they were going to come out of his mouth. And if I did not take that into consideration, then we would both have been in two different scenes, even though we're reading the same text, if that makes any sense. So, I think that there's, like, as Patrick is saying, that there's value in that, as far as not being in the same room together or having a chance to meet ahead of time in the hallway and sort of chat or work things out together. There's disadvantages to not being able to do some of that as well, but and some of your tools are taken away, like we couldn't touch each other, we couldn't be in close proximity to each other or back away from each other when that might be appropriate as well. But I think that we found substitutes for some of those things, just the more comfortable we got with technology too. So yeah, I mean, it was an interesting challenge, that's for sure, but I don't think it was less valuable, let's say, than an actual being physically in the room. It was interesting, and portends well, I think, for the future.
That's great. That's all you got. So we have a great question from Eileen Mandel. Eileen, you are unmuted.
Great. Hi, everybody. My question is, have any of you worked with each other or with Nick or Bobby before, and how does that affect your knowledge of their work, affect how what you might expect from them, or your comfort level with them, or any of that?
I have not worked. Oh, go ahead, Nick. Well, I have not worked with any of these folks. That being said, it turns out Michael used to babysit my girlfriend, and is very good friends with her parents. So small world, I suppose. And
can I say this, Nick? I guess I can say it. Nick and I first met many years ago when we did a show together as actors at a place that no longer exists. I don't know if any of you might remember, Petrucci's Dinner Theater in Laurel, Maryland. And Nick and I did The Mousetrap together out there, and that's where we first met many moons ago. So we have worked together, but we were both babies back then, and we've both grown up since then.
I was able to work with Nick for a weekend. We did a workshop of Tinkerbell, which is written by Patrick Flynn, and we mounted it with Adventure Theater. So I had a bit of a taste of working with him, so that's definitely gotten me very excited. For Bobby, the work that I've done with him is simply in audition rooms. I've probably auditioned with Bobby about 10 times. So being able to finally work with him is so exciting, and his work is so stellar.
I'm blushing. Thank you, Sally. I actually haven't worked with like directly with anyone in the room, so it's very exciting. It's very rare that I walk into a room and I'm like new, and it's a new relationship with everyone. So I'm excited to build that.
We have another question from Jane, who is our casting director. And I am unmuting. Jane, you're unmuted.
Hi, how are you? You can hear me, right? Great. All right. Well, this is when we were doing this, and really this was the first time we'd ever done anything that had singing and dancing in it. We've had video auditions before, but a Zoom callback, that was a lot. And one of the actors had this idea that maybe she should pre-record her song just in case something went wrong with the Zoom. And I thought, okay. So as a kind of joke, she sent me what she said, it would be like this, but it wouldn't be this. Well, it was amazing. And I said, this is what you must send in. This is what you must submit. So Sally, that's what you did, and we all loved it. So I think that sometimes that instinct, that impulse at the beginning can be the right one, and that was. So I just wanted to, it's kind of a question of, I hope you don't regret it, Sally, but it worked. So.
Absolutely not. I was practicing anyway, so I figured I should record, and I'm glad you liked the result.
Well, and it was also very helpful because I sent it on to the group, to the casting team, and Nick immediately responded saying, this is a great idea, and why don't you invite the rest of the called back actors to do it? And it's something that Bobby and I had discussed, so it was perfect because quite a few of the actors did record their singing and record their dancing, so that at least we had something there, and if something went wrong with the Zoom call, there would be an audition, and then we could concentrate on the acting. It was a great idea, and you really, as I said, Bobby and I had been talking about it, but because you had gone ahead and done it, it happened. So thanks, and congratulations.
Thank you for accepting it. It was simply a thought because of my teaching. I teach singing online, and oftentimes my students will open their mouths on a high note and it'll just, you can't hear anything. And I was like, this is totally going to happen because I've got quite a strong belt. So I just wanted to do it for that type of security. And then the dancing, thank you for asking us to record the dancing as well, simply because, we have this laptop and we can adjust the angles, but it is hard to set up for, this acting, and then to be able to have like enough space to go straight into a dance. It was a bit of a kerfuffle that you wouldn't have really thought about if you were auditioning in person.
Thank you. So I have another question, and I get to ask because I'm the moderator to take the power, right, Alex? So what are you participating in any sort of Zoom theater projects right now? Are these things coming to your horizon? I'm interested because you had mentioned something, Michael, about, looking towards the future. What's coming across your radar as actors, and what are you seeing, and what interests you about them, and what makes you nervous about them? Sort of internet theater.
Well, let's see. I have been, well, as I said, I've been doing a lot of Zoom auditioning for various plays, and unfortunately, just sent in a a callback to a theater in Florida, and then the next day they decided they had to cancel that project because it's just, we're not ready yet. But I have been doing, I did a Zoom reading, an in-house reading of a new play for Ford's Theater called My Lord, What a Night. So I've been working on that, and I think we're going to do another in-house reading when the playwright does some work on the play, so that's sort of happening. And then I'm going to do this sort of private reading of a play called Bakersfield Mist by Stephen Sachs, if you know that, at the end of the month. So that's sort of two sort of online theater projects that I've been involved in.
Hi, this is Nick Alcott. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I have not had such great luck with this. I'm working on the development of a new play, and we attempted an online reading, and it was an unmitigated disaster because you discover not everyone's internet is equal. And one of the actors had very bad internet connection, kept freezing. There was a delay in the sound. So there was a 5-second delay before every single one of her lines, which kind of made it hard to find the rhythm of the script. And it was not a great experience. So I'm hoping never to have to do it again, but I realize it may become part of the future. Although someone said today that the next edition of Skype may be better, that we may be able to better on Skype. Because I'm also rehearsing an opera online, but we all have given up trying to do the singing. We're just working on text work online because you can't sing. I mean, I'm trying to sync up singers together, as anyone who knows who's tried to sing Happy Birthday on a Zoom birthday call. It doesn't work. So that's my experience.
Thank you, Nick.
I had a workshop of a play this past week called Revelation, and I got to work with Kenyatta Rogers and Nancy Robinette and just some amazing actors in town. And one of the things that happened, to share Nick's story, we had one of our actors was overseas. He was in India, and his internet totally went out. So another actor that I've worked with, Ahmad, he started reading the lines, and then the actor's internet came back in, and he just kind of picked back up. But that was very interesting because we kept going, who's actor 6? Well, who's actor 6? Who's reading that part? And we realized that his internet dropped out. But it was interesting. It was nice to not have to leave the house to do it, but at the same time, being in the room with the artist you cannot replace that. I don't think, even if Skype is better, even if Zoom gets better, I don't think you'll be able to replace that actual eye contact, that actual energy exchange by continuing to do it online like this.
Patrick, Sally, any thoughts?
I was not sharing any thoughts because I haven't done one. That being said, I work at an educational theater company that has been doing them for youth, performances of some new scripts that are written specifically to be done on Zoom. So my experience has been administrative in that sense. I love the idea of doing Zoom readings for play development. I think it's a great opportunity. We all have a little bit of extra free time, and we all love to read new plays. I think the whole internet issue is one of the struggles that those folks who are doing public readings are having. But I love that we're doing a lot of these play development readings, because we're going to come out of this with a bunch of really well-honed scripts. And when the first in-person reading is going to happen with the script, we'll go, oh, no, it's done.
Thank you.
I think the only online thing that I have, well, there are two things actually. The first thing is Ballet Nova, where I usually take dance classes, has put their classes online on Facebook. So in some ways I'm like, oh, I don't have to waste my time in the car. I can do this in the comfort of my own home. And sure, there might be some lag issues, but essentially I am taking the same class, which has been a huge benefit. And then the thing that I have coming up is the Lottie Do concert, which will be in September. I was hoping to have a lot more collaboration, doing duets, getting some friends to sing in, to avoid any, internet issues. Don Mike, who runs Lottie Do, asked for it to be a strictly solo concert. And what we're going to do to eliminate any hiccups is just pre-record the accompaniment. So hopefully that will turn out okay. But yes, I haven't had too many live experiences so far, or well, Facebook live experiences, that type of thing.
Thank you.
Eileen,
So I go ahead.
Eileen has a comment question that she wants to share with the group. Eileen, you're unmuted.
Thank you, Dee. I saw a very good Zoom piece this week. It was a theater piece, but it was heavily edited and it was recorded. So it's not really theater. It was a short movie. So if there is theater done on Zoom, do you envision it being done live as theater might be done live? Or do you envision it having to be edited so that, as Nick said, you can't sync up and you can't always get everybody's email, internet is different. So how is that going to affect what is done on Zoom?
One of the things, having done one reading and looking forward to this other one I'm going to do at the end of the month on Zoom, I miss, because it's sort of necessary to mute everybody who is not the focus of the script. I miss audience reaction, so I don't know if there's a way to, maybe we should write to Zoom and say, here are some ideas for putting together a theater version of Zoom, because I want to hear reaction to. I want to get, if it's a funny line, I want to hear the laugh. If it's if it's deadly serious, I want to be able to hear a pin drop. I want to hear the silence, and that kind of response is what feeds actors. And there's always a little part of you that's aware of the audience, because you're like a musician. You're pacing the show by what you're getting back. You're receiving feedback that is filtered into the performance, however subtly, because you kind of have to, because it's live. With Zoom, I miss that. I don't know if there's a way of incorporating it, but I would suggest it to the Zoom.
That's a great idea.
Thank you. So I have one last question for the panel, and then we're going to be wrapping up. So I have a 6-year-old son, and his favorite phrase these days is, when the virus is done, I'm going to. So what are you going to do when the virus is done? What are you aching to do next?
I hate to say it, but I'm like Patrick in the fact that I am an introvert. So I don't feel as though I've been super deprived of anything, which is really nice. A lot of my friendship groups have moved to Zoom meetings. But I think maybe what I would do is probably go out for a really nice meal.
Thank you.
Sounds good. I think I would, this is going to come out wrong, but I'm also a bit of an introvert and a hermit, and I've been practicing social distancing for years. And but I do miss, like, perhaps going out and seeing a piece of theater and sitting with some other people.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, basically a combination of the two. I'd love to go out to eat and then go see a show, and then it be 11 o'clock and go, oh my God, I have to get up for work tomorrow morning. What am I doing? Why did I do that? I miss making totally normal decisions that I regret because I'm so introverted.
Very nice. Thank you all so much for being here. And for everyone for being here to be part of this conversation. We are so excited to have you at the theater, and we're so excited to have you in the First Stage family.